Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're going to discuss some structures of the lymphatic system. So the first we're going to talk about is the thymus. And so the thymus is an organ that actually only exists as a solid organ until about puberty. So it's quite large in the fetus, as you can see in this picture on the left. On the models, where you're going to see it is in the upper part of the heart and just anterior to the great vessels, the arteries and veins entering and exiting the upper portion of the heart. So that's where you find the thymus. The next organ is the spleen. When we look and open the abdomen, we usually don't see the spleen, or if we do, we just see a little bit, and that's because it tends to be more posterior. If, however, we take out these abdominal organs, then what you can see is the spleen is tucked up in the left upper quadrant of the abdomen, is completely above the level of the 10th rib, and it's right next to the diaphragm on the one side, and on the other side, the tail of the pancreas leads right to it. So that is the spleen. When we have lymph in our body, it travels to the lymph nodes to be filtered and to create an immune response. We have lymph nodes throughout our body, but on the models that we have, they are very easily seen in two distinct areas. The first is the armpit area known as the axilla. And so if we take this place and we look it up close, you can see all of these distinct yellow nodules on this model, and on this muscle module, they're actually green. And so each of these, each one is an axillary lymph node if it's in the axilla. Now, in the groin area, where the lower extremity means the torso, this is called the inguinal area. And so each of these, which you clearly see is yellow on this particular model, but it's green on the muscle model, each of these would be an inguinal lymph node. And I think you can clearly see on this picture all these white little lines going to each of these lymph nodes and from each of these lymph nodes, and you can see that better in the drawing. What we have is we have lymphatic structures which are carrying the lymph to the lymph node to be filtered and then draining the lymph from the lymph node to the next structure. And each of these small structures are called lymphatic vessels. So they're carrying lymph. These are not part of the bloodstream. They're not arteries and veins or capillaries. They're lymphatic vessels. And on this model of a lymph node, which is this purplish bean-shaped structure, you can see these green structures, and these are the afferent lymphatic vessels bringing lymph to the blood, to the lymph node, and exiting lymph node on the other side, you would have little efferent lymph vessels. And then what's going to happen is all of these little lymph vessels in one area are going to merge together, and then those things are going to merge together, and eventually, before the clean lymph gets dumped into the bloodstream, it's going to go into one of two lymphatic ducts. So the right lymphatic duct we can see in the upper part of the right side of the chest. That's this green structure right here. And what you can see if you follow it, it's dumping its lymph right here at the junction of the internal jugular vein with the subclavian vein, right at the origin of the right brachiocephalic vein. And parallel to that, on the left side, you can see one that's quite a bit longer. And in fact, on the left side, it originates in the abdomen, only we don't call it the left lymphatic duct. It's called the thoracic duct, even though it starts in the abdomen, and then it travels all the way up on the left side of the thorax, right next to the vertebral bodies. And once again, it will travel up to the junction of the internal jugular vein and subclavian vein right at the origin of the left brachiocephalic vein. So all three of these pictures show both the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. So once the lymph has Once these ducts have joined into the bloodstream, the lymph then is part of the bloodstream, back where it belongs. So I want to thank you for all your hard work, and I will see you again shortly when we meet for our next class. Have a great day.